Hey guys, welcome back to the tutorial. So now I want to take the time to discuss a little bit about Lightmaps before we continue with our tutorial. As the next portion, we are going to import our project file into Unreal Engine for the first time. So I think this is a good time to touch on briefly on the concept of Lightmaps. So I'll use a box. I created a box in 3D Studio Max, just a 1 meter by 1 meter by 1 meter box. And then I kind of imported this into Unreal Engine. Okay, so when this box is imported into Unreal Engine, when we double click on this static mesh and go to the UV, what happens is Unreal Engine creates a unwrapped UV of the box. Okay, so it's usually in the last channel. Okay, and Unreal Engine uses this UV channel to store the light maps. If you recall what I discussed previously in tutorial 2, when the global illumination process started, where Unreal Engine built the light and kind of calculate the shadows, it will store the shadow details of each object into its light map, which is what I'm showing you here. So it makes use of this light maps to store the shadow details. Okay, so as you can see, I've already imported this box, and when I build this lighting in a preview mode, you can see that there's some of the shadows are already on the box, but it doesn't look really good. You see, it's quite splotchy and it doesn't look good at all. So this is because I'm using a small resolution for the box. Okay, and what this means is just basically it's not using enough space to store these shadows. Okay, if I increase the resolution, light map resolution of the box to, let's say, 512, and I rebuild these lights, you will see that the shadows stored on this box will be much nicer. Okay, so this is because now I have more space in the light maps to store these details. Okay, so as you can see, it's a lot cleaner now without the splotchiness. Okay, and it is still using the same light maps, which is this, just that now I have specified this light map to be 512 by 512, probably is in pixels, and that's why it looks a lot better. So this is a important concept of light maps, especially when you are using static lighting. Okay, so in this tutorial we are using static lighting, we are not using dynamic, so which is why this is important. So continuing our discussion on light maps, in a typical interior scene, what is really important, on the objects that capture a lot of shadow data are things that are like the walls and the floors, and maybe the ceiling. So you see, if you look at the walls, there actually is a small soft shadows that will be actually superimposed on the wall. You see, like the shadows on the painting, and the contact shadows from the chair to the floor. So if you look at a typical interior scene, what are important is actually the inner walls and the floors and the ceilings, right? So I use boxes again to represent an interior scene in Unreal Engine. So if this represents an interior scene, what are important for light maps, for lighting, are actually these sides of the boxes, right? The wall here, the floor, and the ceiling. And you realize that in an interior scene, these sides they are facing outside, they are not so important, because if you are viewing from the inside, we can't really see them in the first place. So I don't really need a lot of light map resolution for the sides that are outside, but I need a high light map resolution for the sides that are facing inside, to store high quality shadows and stuff like that. So our strategy for good lighting then is, for example, for a box like that, what I want to do is I want to detach off the inner walls. Okay, so for example, in this box, when I edit mesh, okay, let's change it to let's convert it to mesh. Okay, what I want to do is I just want the inner side of the wall. Okay, so when I detach this wall and form another map, what I can do now is that this side of the wall when I import into Unreal Engine, I can crank up the light map settings. Whereas this side of the wall, the outside portion, I can keep it as a low light map resolution. So when you increase the light map resolution, it takes a longer time to build. So by detaching this wall, what we are doing is, number one, we are only giving focus to the important objects, to the important meshes, and we are reducing our building time. And when we import a plane like that, the entire light map is given to that plane, so that this is the most efficient method to do a light map. Of course, we'll just focus on these huge areas, you know, like the walls and the floors. Small things like the furniture, I think we don't have to spend too much effort. So the next step then for our project is to then start detaching the inner walls to form a mesh by itself, so that the light map will be optimized. Okay, so now following what we have discussed previously, we're going to detach the inner side of the major meshes like the ceiling and the walls. So ceilings, I'm just going to isolate this, and then let's change to editable mesh. Okay, and then I'm gonna select the mesh below and detach. Okay, usually I will call it SM. I'll add an inner to it. Okay, and then can end isolate, and then we can continue with this. Okay, so just detach. Okay, I'll leave you to detach the rest, and once you have done, we'll come back in the video. Okay, so now I have detached all the necessary things that I want to detach. So as you can see, I have detached some of the floors, right, some of the walls, and these are all detached walls and floors. So we can just focus on these few things, these few items that are detached, to increase the light map resolution. The rest, we don't have to worry too much. Okay, so let's import this into our Unreal Engine now. All right, before we export, I just want to share that I have renamed the Windows panel, the glasses, because it's so that it will be easier for me to assign materials to it later. So in case you are not familiar with groups in 3D Studio Max, basically when you have grouped something up, you can make changes to the individual meshes, okay, by opening it. So when you go to group open, you can then select individual meshes, and then for me, I just select the glasses and rename them. Okay, so that's one feature probably you should know if you are not familiar with Max. So we want to export the files now. Okay, what we do is we're going to use the datasmith file format. So usually I save it, let's put it here. Okay, if you install the datasmith correctly or Unreal Studio correctly, there should be a Unreal datasmith type. So all you have to do is just, you know, export the whole scene. Okay, so I just put it as loft. Okay, include all visible objects. Okay, you can of course just import, or rather export, those selected ones, and we are not doing animation, so we just use current frames. Okay, so don't worry about the textures and stuff like that. So it's done. So let's fire up Unreal Engine now. So let me just quickly go through this scene. We open up Unreal Engine, and then after that, for me in this tutorial, I'm using 4.22. There's a lot of major updates in 4.24, but it's still in preview mode, so I'm not using it. So when we want to create a new project, we just click on Launch, and then it will ask you for the path and then the project name. So just specify them and then click Create Project, which will bring us to this scene. Okay, so let's continue from here. The first thing we're going to do is just create some folders. Usually I have a few folders that I will use. I have a datasmith folder where I store all my imported stuff. I will create a maps folder where I store my maps. I will have a materials folder where I create something, materials that is outside my 3D Studio Max models. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we create a new map. So file, new level, just get an empty level. And then we will going to import. Okay, so import, press on this datasmith button. Okay, and we look for our imported file. Okay, so just now I export it here, so, and I put it in datasmith. Okay, we just want the geometry. I don't think we have any materials assigned to it. Static mesh, let's just put 256, 64 and 256. These are the, so when you import the 3D Studio Max files, Unreal Engine will kind of like automatically assign based on its own algorithm what the lightmap resolution should be. So we are just specifying a range. If what I find is that Unreal Engine tends to assign the larger number most of the time, so we don't want to have a big number because it's going to increase in our lightmap building. So usually as a start, I'll just put 256. In fact, later when we do the actual import, I will usually start with 16 and maybe end with 64, and then I'll manually change the lightmap resolutions so that it doesn't, I can be sure most of the lightmap resolutions are not that big. Okay, so but for this first instance, we can use a bigger lightmap resolution. So once we import our datasmith, our models, there are a few preliminaries that we need to create. Okay, so my computer is a bit slow, so let's allow it to import and we'll come back. Okay, so now we are here. We are in the, we have imported our building. Okay, so the first thing that I want to do is to create a sky material. Okay, I want to create like a white background to my sky. So what I'll do is I go to materials, I press sky, sky materials, yes, correct, and create a new material. Okay, and I call it sky. So it's going to be a simple one. What I'm going to do is, for a sky material, usually we will change the shading model to an unlit. Okay, and it should be two-sided, because when we assign the sky material, let's say I use a sphere as a sky, I don't want the material just to apply to the outside. I want it to apply to the inside as well. Okay, so I'm going to use a constant 3. Okay, and just use a plain white color, which is 111. And sometimes I'll multiply it by another constant. Okay, then constant. So this to increase the brightness. Usually I put around 5 as a start and assign it to the emissive color. Okay, so this is our sky material. Later we will replace it with a nice HDRI background and stuff like that, but for now, just some quick tests, I'll use a sky, simple sky material like that. Okay, then I'm going to drag out a basic sphere into my scene. What I'm going to do is I'm going to untick the cast shadow. Okay, because I find this creates a lot of problems sometimes. Although if you assign an unlit material, by right it should not cast any shadow, but I find that every time I untick it is the best. Okay, so let's save this map as well. That's 4.1a. Why is this not allowed? Okay, I'm going to call it lesson 4 underscore 1 underscore a. Maybe put it like that. Okay, so remember to untick the cast shadow, change the scale to 500. Okay, and assign the sky material to the material. So this will create like a white kind of background. Okay, so it creates a background for us so it doesn't look pitch black. Okay, the other thing that I want to create is just a simple white material. Okay, so I'm going to do is just going to assign a constant 1 to the base color. Okay, so basically 1 is RGB value of 111, which is white. If you put 0 is 000, which is black. Okay, so just create a white color material. So I like to assign a white material to my first build so that I can see like how the build is like, what are the shadows. It gives me a clearer view of how the shadows will be. Okay, but before we do that, you'll see that in some of the static meshes, the UVW map is not so optimized. So if you look, for example, at this, by right, this face is okay, but the side here is not okay. You know, by right, it should have another box like that. You know, so it's more optimized. Even stuff places like this, you know, and this, when we assign materials to it, it will look really ugly. So so let's fix the UVW maps first. Okay, so I'm going to work on the UVW map now. So what I'm going to do is this particular mesh is actually SM detach walls 5. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I will add a modifier list called UVW map, and then usually because it's shaped like a box, I'm going to put box here and untick real world map size. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to extend the width to the same as the length. Okay, so that what is happening is that the size of the UVW map here, as you can see, if I don't extend the width to be the same as the length, what is going to squish out the side here. What I want is actually the side following the size of the face here, which is why I assign the same length and width. Okay, so once I'm done with that, I will re-import or re-export the entire scene. So for now it's easy because the scene is still pretty light, so it's pretty fast. Okay, so once I export, I just go to the data smith file. There should be a scene file. All I have to do is I just re-import. Okay, so as I re-import, you will see that my UVW map looks much better now. Okay, for the site. So I'm gonna do the same for the rest. Okay, so this as well. So again, for detached walls number 3, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add a UVW map. Okay, and then set it as a box, uncheck real world map size, and set the width to be about the same as the length. Okay, then of course we can start doing the others as well. So for example, let's say this, you know, let's see if we can change the UVW map a bit for this one, wall 7. Okay, so again, I'm also going to add like they don't all have to be the same size per se, you know, but as long as they look all right when you export it back, I think it should be fine. Yeah, so let's see if we can always change it later, you know, if we need to kind of work on it and stuff like that. So but for now, I think this is a good strategy for the UVW map. So I will leave you to do the rest, you know. Of course, I won't record them, but you can check out the project files later on how I did the rest of the UVW maps. Okay, so I'm going to do it and see you in the next video. Okay, so I have done up all my UVW maps. As you can see, the walls looks a lot better now, even for this side as well. So this walls looks a bit better. I also did the UVW maps for the window walls. Okay, so not just the detached ones, the original window walls as well as the bay windows. Okay, so you can see the bay window size is different from the walls. I think it's okay. You know, if I really want to change, we can always change the UV mapping in Unreal itself. And they're using different materials from the walls itself. So I'm more concerned with the walls having slightly the same sizes. It doesn't have to be exactly the same as well, but as long as they are about the same, we can like have an easier time to kind of adjust the UVW mapping later, especially the materials we're using are bricks, so it's really okay not to have the exact same size, you know, but we just don't want squished up UVW mappings. Okay, I also did some for the railings, for the steps as well. So all this now have UVW mapping. So if you look back at all the steps I have added, okay, the railings as well. So what I did with the railings was I just highlighted everything and added the UVW map. But the steps I did it individually because it doesn't turn out right if I actually use the when I highlight everything. Okay, so I think that's about it. The other thing I want to maybe just work on a bit is the floor. You see that there's the walls is kind of like intersecting with the floor. That's why it's creating this what we call Z fighting. Okay, so I'm gonna move the walls slightly a bit lower so that it doesn't intersect directly with the floor. Okay, so let's just you know what, let's just go to the wireframe view. Okay, and let's go to my inner walls. Okay, so and let's go to my second floor. I think that's the few things that I'm concerned. Let's just isolate this. Okay, so as you can see, my inner walls are like intersecting with the upper part of the second floor, so I want it to snap to the lower part. Okay, so we can extrude slightly since it's using extrude, we can just extrude it slightly. Okay, or the other way is, of course, we can use an edit poly. Okay, so let's just use edit poly. Let's turn that one to edit poly, because irregardless, extruding is not the best way to do this. Okay, okay, so this should resolve that Z fighting issue. Let's end isolate and export. Then we will re-import. Okay, so you see, it's now good. So I'm very happy with my Unreal Engine files now. I think we are ready to move to the next step. Okay, so I'll see you in the next section. Okay, so right now we just want to assign the white material to every single mesh here so that we can see how the shadows will play out. So it's very simple. I'm just going to select all these, okay, without the windows, and then assign white materials. Okay, so all these even for the I-beam, the one that doesn't have materials, I'll assign it. Okay, so when we do a build, it will be we can see the shadows forming. And before we build, there are a few things we have to add. The first one is Lightmaps importance volume. Okay, so this will tell Unreal to focus all the light building in within this box. Okay, so I'm gonna add, just expand it so that it kind of envelopes the whole loft. Okay. Okay, the other thing I also want to add is called a Lightmaps portal. Okay, so what Lightmaps portal does is that it tells Unreal Engine again that this is the place where you want to focus all your light to go through. Okay, so let's just move forward and expand it. Okay, scale it up to be the same as, okay, the window. So this light portal will essentially tell Unreal, okay, this is the exterior, that's the interior. Please focus all your photons, you know, when you're calculating the light through this windows, through this portal. Okay, so that's the purpose of the portal. The importance volume is to tell Unreal, okay, it's such a big world out there. Focus all the calculations inside this box. Okay, so this is the reason why we add this. The other one that I want to add is a sphere, or maybe a reflection, a box reflection capture. Okay, so this will take the reflection and then, you know, reflect it back to all the walls and stuff like that. So next we add a skylight into the scene. So I just drag out a skylight. Okay, we can use a specified cube map. Most of you won't have anything here. So what you can do is you view options and then show engine content. So there are like some predefined cube maps inside Unreal Engine that you can use. Okay, so once you show engine content, we can just pick up, usually I use the Epic Quad Panorama. Okay, so set it to static, change the intensity to about 5, change indirect intensity to also about 5. Okay, and then after that we can do a preview build. Okay, so once you are done building, we'll come back. Okay, so we have done a preview build and the room should look like this. Okay, so just a few things to take note. If you have done the modeling rightly, your walls should be quite clean and nice and white. You know, this is not photorealistic yet, but there's no like very obvious blotches and stuff like that, because this is now being used as in it has the optimal light map resolution. Of course, later at this point in time it's only using 256. Later we will increase them to maybe 2048 or 1024, you know, so we can have more space, more light map resolution to build these walls. Okay, so but right now it's looking not too bad, so so this is really just to make sure, you know, if we don't have any light map issues. Okay, if you in the future you do your own project, you start seeing splotches like this, let me just show you. So this is perhaps not the best light maps, okay, because there's this line here. So maybe what we can do is we can try to increase the light map resolution to see if it will create a nicer, I'll leave this here, but we'll increase this light map resolution to see if it will create a nicer light maps. Okay, so you know, if it turns out okay by increasing the light map resolution, it also give us a clue later when we do a full build how much light map resolution we should give to these meshes. Okay, but if it doesn't, then we have to re-look at the models and maybe use a simpler model, right? So stuff like that. So some of these things, it's just at this stage, it's just to make sure that things looks nicer. Okay, so as you can see, as I increase my light map resolution, the chamfered part is better. So I think it's okay. We can leave it like that. We can add you know, maybe maximum of 512. and after that, after adding materials, then all this, it won't be so obvious anymore. So things like the I-beam, you know, these are some light maps issue, but because the I-beam essentially is black in color anyways, so some of this I will just leave it as it is and not do too much work. So another tips is that if you know this is a challenging mesh, you know, that we have some light map issues, then using a dark color to mask away some of these issues will help. So let me quickly just do another build to see how the bay window will look like. Okay, so let's just wait for a while. It's pretty fast. Okay, so I think it's okay. You know, it's okay. So I will just keep it at 256, and I won't dwell too much on the windows, because again the windows eventually will be black. So I'm not too concerned if there's any light map resolutions in it, but for other parts we will work, or rather I'm very happy with the result for now. Of course it can be better, so but what will make it better is just increasing light map resolution, and there's no obvious light map issues in this scene. Okay, so I think that's about it for this tutorial. In the next tutorial, we will put in all the interior stuff, and then after we are done with that, we will then import everything into Unreal Engine and start working on the materials. Okay, so I'll see you in the next tutorial. So before we end, I just want to share a bit more on how you can support the channel. So first of all the PowerPoint files that we use in this tutorial, you can download it. So when you download the PowerPoint files and any project files that we give to the channel through Gumroad, your email will be captured by us. So we will send some marketing materials in the future if you allow us to do so. Of course, you can choose to opt out, but this will help us in our marketing efforts. Of course, the final UE4 project file, it will be for sale as well. So if it is priced at a usual tutorial cost fee, but this is absolutely not compulsory. So if you feel you want to support the channel, you can get the UE4 project file for a price. So all these links, as we are preparing for the YouTube videos, we will slowly add all these files into our Gumroad page. So some are not ready yet, some are already can be downloaded. So you can refer to the YouTube description for the links to where to download these project files. And also, I just want to share with you the way to contact us. We have a YouTube channel. You can contact us directly through email, and of course, the easiest way to find us actually is through our Facebook channel. You can directly message us. So these are the links to where you can contact us if you have any questions, you need any help. Feel free to just look for us. Of course, if you can, remember to subscribe to our channel and click on the notification button, so when we post a new video, you'll be notified. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next lesson.